to structure themselves for future financial savviness, right? And educating them on how their money works. And then we then help them plan for the future, either getting to retirement earlier or with more money. The two number one largest concerns, the largest concerns people have in retirement are not having enough money in their retirement or outliving the money they have, right? So what you ideally want to do is get people to a point where they are confident and comfortable in the assets they have under their ownership. And there's tons of different ways that people build value in their life, right? But ultimately, time is your friend. So you want to have time to let your assets grow. So which is why it's important for people when they're younger to get into, systems, get into ownership, whether it's starting an investment or getting property under management so they become a landlord, or they just have their money compounding for them. And the easiest way to do that really is just simply to invest. So realistically, even with people's concerns about the markets, 89% of the time, the market goes up. So when you have a growth over 70 years of 89% positive, and even when it goes down negative, the most decrease it has, for example, one of the funds that we work in over the past 70 plus years, it's the most it has plummeted is 20%. Whereas the years it's gone up, there's been years it's gone up 60%. So unless you just happen to be super unlucky and you pull your money out that 1 year it's down, you will grow. And even then, there had never been a 6-year cycle where that money had decreased. So even if you had a drop in that 6-year cycle, you were still up, right? So that's the best way. So as far as insurances go, there's 3 different types of insurance, right? Can I share my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So, it says disable screen share.
Before you jump into that, can I piggyback a little bit?
Yeah, go ahead, Christopher.
So this is also a financial education type basis process, correct?
For me, yes. We spend most of our time actually educating people on how their money works.
Okay, so that is a fantastic thing. That's definitely one of the main points that Mr. Ed and me have piggybacked on, is that financial coming into the Hundo Club as a young buck, as a green veteran at 24 years old is the average age. They don't know anything about money. They bought themselves a Mustang. They got themselves a Dodge Charger while they're on active duty, and they thought they were a hot shot shooting 5.56 rounds. That's what you got.
Yeah.
And then they come out full of debt and all these other problems, right? So this is something else, right? So it's very important that we address this major issue. So there's definitely a community aspect. Thank you, Ian, for hammering this out, and God bless you for that. Now, there's
how do I enable him to share on the phone? I don't know the phone controls at all. I only know computer controls.
It may not let me, and that's okay. I was just going to share a whiteboard, but it's fine. I can describe it, but a little bit about myself, just so you guys know. I joined the Air National Guard, the U.S. Air Force, when I was 22 years old, and so I was engaged to get married when I enlisted, and I went into the military. I had accrued probably about $10,000 worth of credit card debt as a young college guy. I got suckered into a credit card in college that the practice of that credit card is actually now illegal. So it's kind of ironic. Like, I got suckered into that. And what they would do is they wouldn't make you pay a minimum payment each month. They would just bill your card the minimum payment. And that's now considered predatory financial practices. And they've outlawed it. But because over time you max out your credit card, and then they say, well, you've made all your payments. Well, I made all my payments with the credit card. And so then they say, well, you've got good credit. We're just going to increase your credit. So I got suckered into that when I was 18 years old, and then it just grew from there. And then after 1 year of in the military, and my mother, I was telling Ian the other day, my mother's actually she's passed away, but she was a financial professional herself. and spent the last 30 years in bookkeeping and accounting and tax accounting. And so, she would constantly be giving me advice. And so I came out of my basic training in tech school. I was gone for 9 months and I got married. And then my wife and I said, okay, we've got to stop this cycle. And so we worked very diligently to pay off all of our debt. And for the past 20 years, we've been married for 20 years. We have not had any credit card debt. The only debt we have had has been our mortgages on our homes. One of our homes is actually rented out. Our home here, because we office out of our house, we're able to leverage it for our businesses because we have two businesses. And so we're able to write off a significant portion of our home expenses. But I came from that background of not being very astute about financial matters, and I've grown from there. So I very much have a desire to make sure that the next generation comes into adulthood more savvy, right?
Amen to that. So that's the exact pain point that we have identified, me and Mr. Finch. So is also, I'm going to take this one after. So there's three types of income, right? You got active income, you got portfolio income, and you got passive income. Well, we're trying to get everybody at least into the direction of portfolio minimum and passive income. Passive income is how you generate real wealth, correct? So if we can do that to the veteran community in some shape or form, we can develop each other and make a real empire out of this. So that's not just for each individual. So these are aspects that were very, very highly intuitive to design.
Sure.
You're tracking what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So yes, absolutely. To go back with what you're saying, pertaining to the being attuned to the difficulties of financial struggles, absolutely. And that's one of the pain points we want to ensure that doesn't happen, because you were active duty, Ian was active duty. I know when I went through TAP services, you know what I got? This is how you save money on your TS form or your thrift savings form for the government. Like I was literally, are you kidding me? On my 0.0000% return rate. I was like, this is what I'm sitting in a week of class about.
Well, and a lot of people don't even realize the Federal Reserve here in the United States actually has a target of 2% inflation per year. It's not by accident that we have inflation. That is by design. And that's because of Keynesian economics. That's where that comes from. And their view, so ironically, when you go through the testing process to get licensed in financial products, all of the almost theoretical questions are 100% out of like a textbook about Keynesian economics. It's like, when should the government introduce itself into this situation? It's like, well, I disagree with it, but I know the right answer is C, So it's always fun to see those questions, because it's like, well, historically, that's actually worked out backwards, but I know that you guys are grading me, so I'm just going to answer how I know you want me to. So kind of going back to building a financial house. When people are young, that's when they accrue most of their debt, right? You're getting married, you buy a house, you buy a car, you start having children. You haven't established yourself in a career that's financially like a large growth financial career yet. So you're working for $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year, and maybe you're only working, your spouse isn't, or whatever the case may be, but you have more debt, right? So you have not a lot of income, so it's low income, but you have a lot of financial obligations. So if you're a young father, young mother, if you were to pass away while you have children, that's why life insurance is so critical. I have my own situation. I have family members. I had a cousin last fall who actually made national news because she passed away tragically in her camper at a motocross event here in Kansas. And she was pregnant at the time, and she had I think she had two of her children with her in the camper. And so my cousin's husband now had to pick up the pieces with his sole surviving son, and now losing his wife, who was also an income earner in their family. They had no life insurance, right? So he did what everyone typically does in the event that they don't have life insurance. Do you guys know what that is?
Enlighten me.
GoFundMe. So he started a GoFundMe, and yeah, he raised, I think, $45,000, which is barely enough to cover the cost of the funerals for his wife and his 2 children. But it did not take care of the loss of income for his spouse. Not to mention, he can't take time to grieve. He can't take time to process. He has to immediately go back to work, or else he loses the rest of his life. He loses his house, he loses his cars, etc., because his wife was helped pay for all of that. So life insurance is critical when you're younger. Now, we're unique in that we teach people how to leverage an appropriate amount of life insurance while they're young. And then as they age, build their assets for investment so they have that portfolio growth to where they get to a point where now you're self-insured. If you were to pass away, your estate is large enough that even if you died, your family's fine, because we would have the proper legal paperwork, such as a will or a trust, in place to manage your assets. And then that way, when you pass away, now your family, all of the expenses of your end of life care and everything, that's managed, that's taken care of. And then your family still receives the benefit from those other things. So what we taught was buy term and invest the difference, right? So there's some people will push different types of life insurance policies. I mentioned that there's 3 different types. There's whole life, which is a cash value policy. And there's universal life, which is a cash value policy. And then there's term. Now, term only covers you for a term of time period of your life. The company I partner with, we're unique in the industry. Yes, sir. What's up?
All right, so that's one of the, so pertaining to life insurance, you're dealing with veterans, right, that have major medical health issues, might be a drug addiction, mental, I have a neurological disorder that could cause me death on any time, where literally my brain neurons just shut down. I don't know, so these are the type of things that were was the SGVI or something like that.
SGLI is Service Group Members Life Insurance.
Right. So
and when you get
it.
out, it becomes VGLI, which is Veterans Group Life Insurance.
Perfect. So this is something that we also think is very important. It's in our realm.
Absolutely.
That but again, this is up to the constituents. We can only vet people and say, okay, we recommend this service provider. They're the most reasonable price on the market. They're most reliable, those kind of things. And we can't force anybody. But if they're looking for those things, you know what I mean? That's what we can do. We can design package deals.
Yeah.
For
I'm not a hard sales kind of guy.
No, it's called education-based selling is what you're doing. And it's actually the best form of selling. It's teaching and not selling. So it's completely different. And
so I've worked with veterans who don't qualify for life insurance. They wouldn't, for any privately owned insurance, they're not going to qualify. I've met guys, because they've either attempted suicide or they're on a whole cocktail of PTSD medication, whatever the case may be. And unfortunately, like for them, outside of the VA, no one will insure them. And so I have a gentleman right now, we met with him. We just happened to meet through a veterans group online on Facebook, and sat down with him and discussed where he was at on things. And he was like, I need to get life insurance for my kids. My wife and I have divorced, but I want to make sure that they're taken care of. He doesn't qualify because of everything that's in his medical history. So at that point in time, it's like, okay, there is life insurance available through the VA, right? And you are entitled to it. And so I have, I don't know whether Ian is working on that front. I think you mentioned something about trying to become more of an advocate for the, getting veterans care through the VA. Is that true?
No, I'm doing veteran care through Legal Shield to get them legal coverage.
Okay.
For a legal insurance. The VA would probably be Christopher here, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm the VA guru. Mr. Ed is the business guru. Ian would be the legal aspect that seems to be the most beneficial on a holistic scale thus far. And these are all aspects that are vital to the taking of the veteran community. Absolutely. So
yeah, so you could probably speak more to what the VA offers. I when I look at the insurance through the SGLI, the VGLI, I look at cost, exclusions, coverage, eligibility, things like that. I have a local friend here in the Kansas City area who has been kind of my reference. Like he and I, we're in the same election district. I've known him, so he has informed me that there's some life insurance that you're entitled to the VA. I don't know what the cost is of it. I don't know what the coverage availability is of it. If someone's planning for just end of life care and they're not looking for income replacement or to support a family until the children are out of the home or to cover debt, then the reality is like a funeral today. Obviously, if you're getting a veteran's funeral, then the VA will cover a significant portion of it. But if you were just paying for your own funeral out of pocket, that can easily be $15,000. And so so to do income replacement, you want to start looking at about 8 to 10 times your annual income. And the reason you look at that is you just do the math. If I take that lump sum and I put it into a moderately secure investment that produces like 8% annual yield, which is, yes, sir.
Yeah, so a few questions. You're talking about exactly, as Christopher said, you're talking about exactly what we want to do. We want to educate veterans around being financially savvy and prepare themselves and get financial stability, and we value the life insurance. What's if we were to bring you in, what's your capacity to deal with or handle those support larger numbers of veterans as we grow? That's one of the primary questions, and the second one, would you be able to help? Do you believe you'll be able to help veterans in the position where they are not eligible for standard insurance? So you touched on that briefly.
Yeah, so this is a great question. I appreciate that. So as far as capacity, absolutely, we make time. My wife and I, we meet with people throughout the week as late as 8:30 at night. So we try to work around people's schedules as much as possible. I've met with people at 6 in the morning on Saturday morning. I've met with people. I was in an airport in Florida and met with a couple while I was waiting for the rental car company to get us a car. So I'm not afraid to inconvenience myself, because at the end of the day, my role is to make sure that the customer is taken care of, right? Yeah. So and being a veteran, I don't know if you guys have ever done it, but like I've been nominated for all those 22 push-ups a day competitions, so I do that all the time. And I coach youth sports. I even get my teams to do it because I want people to know like we care. And of course, when I was deployed, I came home. The Vietnam veterans were the first ones to greet us when we set foot in the United States. So, and my father was in that generation, and they were not treated well. So I have a passion for that. So as far as them, if they don't qualify, so here's what it's all about resource allocation, like being a master of your resources. So even if the primary company that I partner with, so I partner with a company called Primerica, and Primerica, like for example, for life insurance, Primerica was rated the #1 most trusted life insurance company. You guys will appreciate this, but during 9/11, okay, during the 9/11 attacks in New York, Primerica was one of only 2 companies that actually paid out the life insurance policies to the victims' families, because we don't have a war and terror clause. In fact, last year, 2023, I saw the news where there was 2 companies that finally in court got forced to pay out those policies. So imagine your family members waiting 22 years to receive the benefits that you were entitled to from a death that you had nothing to do with, right? So,
I'm from New York City, and I was a kid when I saw the towers blow up, so I know exactly the whole situation with that. I'm from Brooklyn, New York, so pertaining to the payouts, you're correct.
Yeah. So that's one of the things about us. So we do partner with another company. It's a smaller company that handles like smaller policies for people that are higher risk. Yes, sir.
For example, I know, is it okay to speak a little bit about your health issues, Mr. Ian? Nothing crazy.
What?
Is it okay I speak a little bit about your personal medical condition?
Yeah, I don't mind.
Okay,
I tell
so
everybody about it anyways, so.
I'm just confirming. So yeah, Ian deals with burn pit, right? Habit issues. I don't think any company's gonna touch that. And that's what we need the kind of level of security for. We need that kind of level insurance policy. And that's very important because, he's huffing down chemicals and jet fuel and God knows whatever creation they put in there, anthrax. They'll be like, yeah, as a commander, I think we were talking about it last night. I'd be like, yeah, we got anthrax. We found anthrax in nuclear weapon. Yeah, just burn it. Just what's the answer? Burn it. Whatever. It's the government's answer. We can't bury it, burn it. So, like these high risk situations or COPD or these kind of medical conditions are very serious. And these are things that would have to be covered. It's got to be a very holistic point of view. Yeah, the company will make money in the long term, but they gotta realize also
Yeah.
you're taking care of the most elite people in the world, the 1% of the population on the planet. So it's going to be a paid service in itself. It's literally giving back. So I don't think it's also something that any organization should have. Thank you for letting me use your example, Ian.
And the challenge with anything that has a health complication of anything is it all boils down to underwriting. So,
Yeah.
there are people whose job is called an actuary, and an actuary just looks at tables and they look at a person of this age with these life situations and experiences. What is the rate of death for the person at that age? Like, and how, and what, and so then they use that to say, okay, this is the risk associated with insuring this person for life insurance, right? So that's why the reason we recommend term insurance is because, one, if you look at the experts in the financial industry, they all agree that term insurance is the most effective form because you buy the most valuable that you can get, right? And then you take whatever you would have spent on anything else and you just invest it, because then that investment grows. So a whole life and a universal life, both of those types of policies are very expensive ways to insure yourself. And you build a insurance policy and you have a cash policy. The problem is you only get one or the other. You don't get both. So, as an example, I recently reviewed a whole life policy for a person who the policy was purchased when they were very young, which is when you get the very best efficiency as far as cost. And for a $100,000 policy for this person, before it was fully owned, because you pay on it until you own it, right? They were going to spend $37,000 for a $100,000 policy, right? So that's 37 cents on the dollar. And I was showing my friend how, now that his daughter is an adult, I was showing him how if she were just to take the cash value that she already has in that policy, cash it out, and then fund a term insurance policy and then invest the difference, and then the ratio of the difference between what she was paying in premium, just invest that at a moderate investment, she would actually have 3 times the value in her retirement by the time she would have owned that $100,000 whole life policy. And the thing is people have kind of been sold on this idea of security in a whole life. The whole life company is taking your premium and investing it themselves and making more money, right? So you're giving up security. You're giving up the ability to grow for a sense of security that's a little bit false.
To piggyback on that, when it comes to active duty members and as yourself, you're a military member, if you're coming out of a hot zone, right? and you're getting out of the military, your highest risk is roughly within 365 days of short term of committing suicide or whatever the action is. It's usually a very short term, under 15 years. That's the magic number. Uh, so if there's a way that's to say that's also a possibility, these are up to the individuals. I think your view on making a very economical situation out of it and a long-term investment out of it, I've never seen that kind of mentality before. So I think that's pretty cool, Mr. Bryant.
Yeah. I'm not worried about max case commissions today. I'm worried about making sure that people are taken care of. And so and for example, if we have a veteran who wants to have a life insurance policy and they just can't get approved for one, there are ways to do it. It just costs a little bit more. There's higher risk policies you can buy into. You get the best rates when you have medical evaluations, but medical evaluations means that they look at your medical history. So if you've had a history as a veteran of getting a disability from the VA, or you've gotten PTSD applied to you, or you've had to have some suicidal counseling, it's going to be really hard to get covered, just because by definition it's life insurance. So if you're struggling with whether you want to be alive, that's where the challenge is. So like I said, there are organizations. So we do partner with an organization called Prosperity Life. I don't know what their underwriting is like for veterans in this situation. So I haven't done a whole lot of policies with them, but they're directly targeted for those higher risk clients. So like I said, there's also the opportunities like I mentioned earlier about the VA, but if that's the intention, so like if they just don't qualify, then it's a matter of like, okay, let's just start building your portfolio. Like, let's take a step back. We want to get you to where your value will grow. So, as an example, I was telling Ian about this. Like, when it comes to time value of money, right? There's a principle called the rule of 72, which is just about how money compounds. So 72 just happens to be like a nice round number that the math works out fairly well for most situations. But if you take an investment, whatever it is, whether it's a property or it's a collector's item, or if it's actual money and investment, the rate of return as far as growth, that percentage, if you divide 72 by that percentage, that will tell you roughly how many years it takes to double in value. Right? So 72 is 3 times 24. So if I have a 3% rate of return, which is roughly what, a whole life policy will grow at, it will take 24 years for your money to double in value. Does that make sense? So if I have a 6% rate of return, 72 divided by 6 is 12. So then my money doubles every 12 years. If I jump into a more aggressive investment, like a 12% investment, then I'm doubling my money every 6 years. Now, the reason I say that's why that's important is because think about it. This is an example I gave to Ian just the other day. Let's say, for example, I have 36 years left until I retire, right? So let's say I'm 24, just got out of the military, right? And I'm thinking I'm going to retire in 36 years. If I wait 6 years to start investing, I have lost out on my largest doubling in my investment, because instead by waiting that 6 years. So what happens is then my final 6 years of my investment, my money would have doubled again. And so by that point in time, I got doubling 1 time, doubling 2 times, doubling 3 times, doubling 4 times, doubling 5 times, right? So if I put $10,000, 10 doubles 1 time into 20, 2 times into 40, 80, 160, 320. Well, I would have been losing out on $320,000 on that final 60 years. Because all of that money is compounding.
Yes, so there's multiple ways to talk about financial fitness for individuals, and it's a highly needed program. So I think it's very important to correlate, say, the health insurance aspect or the life insurance aspect, excuse me, with the legal aspect. So those two are husband and wife
Sure.
when we're trying to give that to back to the veteran community, such as yourself, right? So you come in as a veteran and you're saying, hey, I need some financial coaching, business coaching, some VA coaching, WordPress design, website design, all this, you get this holistic point of view, right? For a very low membership fee on top of that, you know, and that's really what our target aspect is to get. We still have to iron that all those aspects out, but it sounds definitely to me. Am I correct me on this, Edward? If that it sounds like legal and this life insurance thing is like a husband and wife in a way or family member.
It is. It is. It's if we get people financially stable and we can get them to, that's our first priority, and then we can get them to get their life into more balance. And camaraderie is just one of those elements. But yeah, housing, life insurance, financial stability, all these mixed in together. There are various ways we can go about that. As you rightly said, critical part is we want to be in a position where we're bringing in people that we believe are going to be the best to advise and support veterans. And it's up to individuals to make their own mind up. We provide those services. There's different ways we can do that. But this, to me, I'm just sort of saying this up front. It sounds like we're on exactly the right path. This is exactly where we want to be, and exactly the type of level of information and support that we want. We're all seem to be definitely on the same page as far as I'm concerned so far. I'll just say that now.
So, do you have any other questions I can answer, or anything you want me to explain further?
If you could just send over that that traffic that we were supposed to go over, that whiteboard or a presentation, and it can give me a little homework assignment, and I can research something you do, your company websites, your whole I Love Me package, your brochure in a way. I'll do some
Ian,
homework.
do you have their contact information?
I do.
Do you want to just message me on Facebook?
Yeah, I'll get you in contact with them. I also I did add you or sent you an invite to the Hundo group, and I referred you to the website that we have going up, because that's what we call ourselves as Hundo. It's a veterans to basically our mission is to stop veterans from having any issues getting out of the military, and it eventually will be global wide. So not just America, but the UN and everything else as well.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I just saw
So
I'll say when you study in depth what Hondo's about, and we've recorded some of our webinar meetings, you'll get to see our vision. You'll love it. There isn't anybody so far who hasn't absolutely fallen over backwards with what we're doing. We're on a seriously big mission here. Seriously big mission. You'll see exactly where you fit in, potentially fit in with this.
I heard a phrase the other day, which really rings true for veterans, and it said, if you teach the public to worship veterans, they won't worry about supporting them or taking care of them, something along those lines. And so it was like, the whole, like, I can't tell you how many of my friends have said, hey, thanks for your service, thanks for your service. But then,
it's like mouth service. It doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't mean anything. It's literally lip service nowadays.
Yeah. So I don't, it's never been a big deal for me. Like I've never really, I haven't really gone through life, expecting or asking for the gratitude. I served because it was a sense of duty that I felt, right? And so
I'll give you a little taste of what we're doing here, just a little taste of what we're doing. One of the places we started from was recognizing the value of what people have done in active duty for society, for their country. And when they come out and they become veterans, they're entering civilian life, and it's like a whole new world. And they've left that mission-based life of active duty. What we want to do, one of the big parts of our mission, is to give veterans a new mission and to enable them to have a new mission. So yes, they will get that respect and that adoration rightly deserve, because they'll have a new place in society, not just because they're looking for it, but because they rightly deserve it, because not just for the active duty, but for what we are going to collectively enable veterans to do, regardless of their abilities or disabilities. They're going to have a better place within society, and they're going to be able to contribute, and they're going to have a whole new mission. The mission is a global term for what people can do when you provide them with the right training, support, education, and everything else that we're packaging together here. So that's the big picture of what we're doing. That's the big picture of where we're taking it.
Love it. Yeah, I've got the websites pulled up that Ian forwarded me, so I look forward to learning more, and I'll get signed in and everything, and then we'll go from there. And yeah. So
We'll look forward to it.
anything else? Any other questions I can answer?
No, that's it. I'll do some homework. I'm gonna get some grub right now. I think it's nummy time again. It's like
Yeah,
it happens like a daily thing. I don't know why that. It's like
So
I keep telling myself what I want to do is work and help veterans, but it's like I decide I have to like eat and shower. I don't know. It's like a weird habit.
Yeah.
Well,
what part
no,
country are you in, Chris?
when you come from my industry where I've been doing network marketing for 4 years, you can get so carried away with building that you will actually fast, because you'll be building so hard and you'll be so excited about all these other people succeeding. You will literally forget to eat. For my mentor, the longest period he went without eating was 10 days before he started to pass out. And his
Wow.
wife basically came and force fed him, was like, eat now. So
I
That is
couldn't do
not
that. There's
healthy.
no way.
But God bless you, literally, Mr. Brian. Like literally, you said you hit a big nail on the head. Is that you're willing to go beyond the Call of Duty. A lot of people don't want to go beyond the Call of Duty, and that's literally part of the foundation of Hundo. We don't leave people behind. No one's left behind, and we go beyond the Call of Duty on every single situation. Right now, I have somebody who's coming out to me. He's reaching out, and also Ed. And I'm just going to push it out to the network after I get approval of him, is he needs a dissertation recommendation, right? Because he's being a doctorate on transitional aspect into civilian life. He's actually 28 years in the Air Force. He actually did 28 years. He was a command sergeant major, and he's looking to help Veteran Hundo Club as well. So what I'm trying to do personally, as because that's one little issue that one individual part of Hundo, and this is how we go beyond the Call of Duty. They said, help me. I'm going to make an entire web page for him. I'm going to make an entire registration page for him, absolutely free. This is the type of thing that I'm going to be able to do. And then let's say with your situation with Richie, and Richie, a individual who's another veteran who's having a very tough time financially, food, gas, electric, water, the whole nine, the whole life type situation is critical. I dropped everything, and whatever I was doing, my meetings, I didn't care. And I made sure this guy, I could do everything I can for him. And that's the kind of a mindset that you said. You wake up at 6 in the morning. You don't mind going out doing emails till 8 at night. I know what that means. That means you go about the Call of Duty. So I highly appreciate that. God bless you for that.
Awesome. Well, Ian, thanks for inviting me. You've got my information. I'm active on Facebook and LinkedIn, and actually, while I'm at it, let me just drop in. Here's a quick website. This is just a reference page for my wife and I. It's livemore.net, her finance. I'm just going to drop it in the chat. So
I actually created a group chat with you in it on Facebook, by the way.
okay, awesome. So I look forward to hearing more. And one of the things I do love about what we do, we specialize in helping families especially families who don't come from like an affluent background. So part of the educational process is trying to disrupt the cycle of financial illiteracy. Some of the large players in the financial industry won't work with you unless you have a minimum amount of money in your investments or available to invest. Like I have a friend of mine who went to go to a Wells Fargo advisor. I shouldn't probably said their name. But the advisor said, well, unless you have $250,000, I'm not going to talk to you. And it's like, well, what kind of like the number of, and so he was limiting himself exclusively to like this very, very small percentage of society. And we help people I've helped people, friends and family who literally have no more than $25 a month to get going in investment. And so just helping them, for complementary debt planning, helping them structure how to get out of debt. We don't charge for that service. Helping them identify where they need to be at in terms of their financial situation. We don't charge for that. So these things that
Winner,
normally,
chicken dinner. It sounds
huh?
like a winner, chicken dinner
Yeah,
webinar.
and
Absolutely.
so it's all about trying to make sure that um, I, I get paid when you win, right? So I don't want I've had investments where, whether my investment did well or did poorly, the investment guy got a commission out of it. It's like, well, that's not really fair, you know? I'm the one who's risking everything and you're still, living high off the hog. So that's one of the things we love about what we do is we get to help people from all walks of life. And especially, you talk about veterans who are homeless, I grew up going to a church in downtown Wichita, Kansas, where, it was high, heavy homeless population, a lot of them veterans, and then my father being a veteran himself, just getting up and going and helping them with breakfast and talking to them, trying to help them work through life and what their challenges were. And some of these guys, it's a lot of it boils down to mental challenges. And it's like, but we all have mental challenges. It's just some of us process it better than others. And so, trying to be an influence in that person's life and helping them work through it and get out of a self-defeating, destructive lifestyle. So anyway, I look forward to hearing more about what you guys do. I'm gonna get going. So Ian, thanks for the invite,
Lovely.
and I'll talk
Thank
to you
you.
guys soon.
All right, thank you
Yep.
so
Very
much.
much.
God
Cheers.
Have a
bless
good
you.
one, Brian.
You too. Thanks.
No
Ian.
one left
Bye.
behind on
Thanks.
this one.
Cheers.
I love it.
Yep. Cheers. Cheers.
Okay, guys, sorry about that. I know that
Yeah.
was kind of a surprise on you because this was supposed to be more about my leadership meeting and what all I'm
Hey,
going to contribute and stuff.
Multitask.
I just saw you guys posting all this stuff about life insurance things, and I
Oh,
literally
we can-
saw
We can
trigger
cut the video.
words.
We can cut the video.
Oh, okay. Where do
That
I
way
turn that off
Up
now?
and then, the
Or
guys.
Just
stop recording.